Welcome to the Membership Guys podcast. Kick-ass advice and tips for membership site owners.
Hey gang, thanks for downloading the latest episode of the Membership Guys podcast. I am your host, Mike Morrison. Thank you so much for checking out this installment of the podcast. Episode 59, in fact. How the devil are you? How's it going? I hope you're having a great day, great week, great month, great year, and that you're ready for another installment of proven practical tips, tactics, and advice for running and growing a successful membership site. Sorry, I slipped into cheesy radio presenter mode there. In today's episode, we're talking about live events. Now, as I record this, it's only a week or so after I got back from Podcast Movement, which was a great event over in Chicago with about 2,000 podcasters from around the world. Learned a lot, did a lot of great stuff. Amazing city, which I'd previously only visited Chicago once for a weekend. It rained, it was cold, it was miserable, it was grey. This time around it was beautiful, and I fell in love with deep dish pizza. You thought I was going to say the architecture, the scenery. No, deep dish pizza. But the visit to Podcast Movement was actually the 5th or the 6th event I went to in fairly rapid succession between April of this year and now. In around about mid-April, Callie and I went over to Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, which is a huge event. I then went off to a masterminding weekend with about 80 other entrepreneurs in London about 2 weeks after that. Then there was the Content Marketing Academy conference up in Scotland, followed by New Media Europe down in London, followed by Podcast Movement in July. And it's certainly been odd. It's been a little different attending live events as a membership site owner. Now, Callie and I used to go to a lot of business events when we were operating our service business, our web agency. And those would be local exhibitions. They would be breakfast networking events. In fact, Callie and I met through a business networking membership, if you would believe it, as though it was almost written and scripted that we would go on to specialize in membership websites. Although, as a side note, whenever we tell people we met through a membership, they always assume it was Plenty of Fish, Match.com, or, Tinder. Anyway, but it was definitely an interesting experience attending these events as a membership site owner rather than as someone who's there primarily to land clients, to make money through the connections that they make. So I know a lot of you guys who are listening will run a membership as a side project, and you still have a day job, but there's plenty of people within our audience and indeed within our membership over at membersiteacademy.com where your membership site is either your day job, that's your main business, kind of like it is with Callie and I, or it's a big enough factor of what you do that you might be out there attending events purely as a membership site owner, purely with your membership hat on. So what I find for attending these live events as a membership site owner is your priorities change and what you look to get out of these events changes. And actually, I think you can get more from attending a live event when you have a membership site and you have an online brand to build than if you're just there basically fishing for clients for your service business. First of all, these events allow you to meet influencers as well as your peers. So if you have a podcast, if you have guest trainers come into your membership, or if you just have anything where it would actually benefit from having a relationship with influencers and meeting these guys, then these events are the place to do it. You can go up, you can have a chat. A lot of the time they hang around, they're at the bar, they're very approachable. They are on. They know what is involved in attending these events as an influencer, as a speaker, and so they make themselves available just for a chat. So you get to rub shoulders with these guys, you get to snap selfies if that's what you're into, you get to take your Snapchat, and you get to make yourself known. And if you have conducted podcast interviews in the past, if you have a podcast, if you feature people on your blog, maybe you've actually already communicated with some of the influencers you're meeting, and this is a chance to put a face to the name and develop that relationship further. But as well as these influencers, you also get to meet your peers, other people on the same level or the same track as you, doing the same sort of things, maybe in the same market, in the same industry. And those relationships and the friendships, the opportunities, they can be gold. They're where the real value is, the real good stuff from these events. It happens from discussions at the bar. It happens from discussions in the queue for coffee. Those kind of relationships with people on your level or people who are just ahead of you or what have you, where you're sharing knowledge, sharing experiences, you're discussing possible collaborations and partnerships and ways in which your membership and what they're doing can match up. That's all really great stuff that happens at these events. Now, I'm not going to lie, we talk about obviously not being there to fish for new clients, but there's certainly the potential to attract in new members by attending these events. And indeed, at several of the events that we went to, we got in conversations with people just naturally about what we're doing. If they were in the market for that, if they were interested in membership sites, then naturally they want to know more. And we have picked up new members from attending these events just because you talk about what you're doing. You're not in pitch mode, you're not in promo mode, you're not there to hoover up all the potential business cards of everyone who might be a member and then spam the living daylights out of them afterwards. But you're going to be having conversations about what you're doing, and you will find that people have genuine interest in your particular topic. After all, if you're going to these conferences, there will be some sort of commonality between your target audience for your membership and the people who are at these sort of events. So it stands to reason that just talking to people will lead to opportunities to attract potential new members in as well. These events are also a great place to land guests for blogs and for podcasts, people you may never have come across before, just because your circles haven't intersected, your paths haven't crossed. But you can actually find people with high levels of knowledge, skills, with unique experiences that would make fantastic guests for your blog and for your podcast. So again, these are the sorts of things you're not necessarily going to be looking for if you're operating a service business, but when you're in content marketing, in information marketing, then the potential to meet these kind of contacts is huge by attending these events. Now, of course, there's the event itself. Now, obviously, if you're attending conferences, there'll be speakers, there'll be workshops. So a natural benefit of attending them, regardless of whether you're a service business owner or a membership site owner, is you're going to learn something. And the great thing is, going into these kind of workshops, you get to pick the sort of stuff that not only would potentially be beneficial for you as a membership site owner to help you promote your membership, to grow your membership, but you can also go into sessions almost on behalf of your members. And that's certainly something we did in social media marketing world when we attended back in April. We picked some sessions that we thought would help us as business owners to promote and to grow our site, but we also picked sessions specifically because we thought, you know what, our members are going to be really interested in the takeaways that we can pass on from these sessions. So we kind of went vicariously for our membership base. And again, that's just an added element to attending these kind of conferences where maybe there might be 4 or 5 slots where the session's on, where there's nothing that you can see that directly will help you out. If you're a service business owner, then you might just skip them. But actually, anything that could be of value to your members, you can go along, take note, and then put together podcast episodes, put together articles, put together discussions in your community or live training where you cover the main points from all the sessions that you've gone to. So you're not just picking up stuff for yourself, you're picking up stuff for your members too, and that adds value into your members. And talking about adding value to your membership, without doubt, my favorite part, my highlight of some of the events that we've gone to is meeting up with fellow members. The fact that in Chicago, I got to share a deep dish pizza with Mark, with Deandra, with Marianne was fantastic. We sat, we had drinks, we had pizza, we just talked memberships for a couple of hours on a gorgeous sunny night in Chicago, and it was great. It was the highlight of that trip, as was meeting up with Janet, Dan, Christy, and Mary in San Diego too, where we went off to a nice little riverside restaurant by the bay in San Diego, and we just chatted. We got to know each other, and we got to talk a bit about what we do, about the future of the academy and stuff. We got to answer some of their questions, but also learn more about them as people outside of memberships. So those were without question the absolute highlight of attending those events. And honestly, we would actually go to cities where they have the big events on, not go to the events, but just organize member meetups. that is genuinely something we consider doing. That's how much we value meeting up with our members. So there's so many different ways you can extract value by attending live events as a membership site owner. And for us, we ended up with dozens of podcast interview opportunities where we'll be on other people's podcasts, of training and webinar collaborations where we'll be getting in front of other people's audiences and talking about what we do. We've been invited on to web summits as a result of people that we met and conversations that we've had. We've met members, we've met peers, we've met people that I've only ever spoken to remotely, interviewed on podcasts, but never actually met them face to face. I've got to catch up with influencers. I interviewed John Lee Dumas a couple of weeks before we went to Social Media Marketing World. I then had a chat with him and introduced myself and thanked him for being the podcast at Social Media Marketing World, and then caught up with him again in Chicago. Such a great opportunity to just build that relationship bit by bit. And we build friendships. People that we've seen a couple of times at a couple of these different events. There's guys like the podcast host Colin Gray, who's been to 3 or 4 of the same events that I have, and we keep seeing each other, and we've had drinks, and we went out on Saturday in Chicago and spent the day out with a few of the guys at a festival over there. That sort of stuff, you're not going to get sat behind your computer screen running your membership. And that's so important, because when your business becomes entirely online, you do definitely miss out from a lot of what you get from going out there and meeting people in the real world. And as well as those sort of opportunities for us to get in front of other people's audiences, for building relationships, we've met existing members. We've attracted new members. We've arranged for guests to appear on our podcast who otherwise we might not have known of, or we might not have had that relationship in order to secure those interviews. We've got guest trainers lined up to come into our membership. We've got potential speaking opportunities, potential collaborations, exciting stuff in the future. We've met suppliers, we've met potential partners, all from just getting out there and going to live events. So while it may not seem as a membership site owner that it's intuitive to go out there and actually be meeting people one-on-one, face-to-face, it may seem like you can do everything just behind your desk, at home or in your office. There are massive, massive benefits to attending these sort of events out in the real world too. So hopefully that's inspired you to get out there if you're not out there already, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys around at a future event. And big highlight for me in Chicago was actually having one of those random audience interaction moments where the MC for the room kind of did that whole thing where they encourage you to speak to someone you've not spoken to before, and everyone groans and begrudgingly talks to each other. Got into a conversation with a guy, and about 30 seconds in of explaining what we do, he actually said, "You know what? I listen to your podcast." That's awesome. I love that. I hope to have more of those moments and get to meet some of you guys out there at future events. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's show. Hopefully it's given you something to think on. It's given you a bit of inspiration, or it's just made you think a little differently about getting out there and going to events and making that effort, and how you can actually extract value from doing that for your membership. Thanks again for listening. I'll be back again very soon with another episode of the Membership Guys podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Membership Guys podcast, we invite you to check out the membersiteacademy.com. The Member Site Academy is the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a membership website. So whether you're still figuring out what your idea is going to be, or whether your website is already up and running and you're just looking for ways to grow it and attract new members, then the Member Site Academy can help you to get to the next level. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive member-only discounts, perks and tools, and a supportive, active community to help you along the way with feedback, encouragement and advice, the Member Site Academy is the perfect place to be for anyone looking to start, manage and grow a successful membership website. So check it out at membersiteacademy.com.